let's almost start with the top.
Okay. So this is my theory of how pornography causes rape. I should say the exposure to pornography, the viewing of pornography. You know, a lot of people, of course, don't believe that that can influence somebody. What they would think is, well, if that affects them, they must have already been predisposed. So, therefore, it can't cause it. It can only bring it out in those men who already have the desire. But just to start at the very beginning, I start with, well, what are some of the causes of men's proclivity to rape? For example, say we were looking at a theory about women, what's the effect of pornography on women's desire to rape? Now, you have to look at, well, I mean, what we know is that women aren't really interested in raping, and don't, do it, the statistics show, except if they're participating, with a man or in a group or something like that. So if men didn't have a proclivity to rape, were like women, then, pornography is not going to have the same impact. The point is, a lot of men are turned on by the idea of rape. And, I mean, they don't get born that way, that's because we have a rape-supportive culture, because there are all sorts of, things that influence them that way. And it's important then to see, well, what is their proclivity already to rape, and then the impact of pornography on that, on men who, as I say, because a lot of them, very high percentages, are turned on by the fantasy. So these particular causes are just suggestive. I mean, the theory isn't trying to look at the causation particularly, but just, okay, given that there are causes for males' proclivity to rape, then, this is the empirical evidence. So, this theory combines both the theory and then the evidence, the scientific evidence that supports it. So, for example, experiments have shown that this is a big range, that from 25 to 60% of male students report some likelihood of raping or forcing sex on a woman if they would get away with it. I mean, that is extremely high. And Malamuth did the first experiments, which were based on, a sort of vignette, a story about a rapist who approaches a woman in a car. So it's a stranger rape scenario, and he makes a pass, she declines, and then he rapes her. It's a violent rape by a stranger. And so they asked, how likely is it that you might behave in a similar fashion? And up to, an average. He's replicated it many times, also, not just in this country, also in Canada. And so, roughly speaking, it's tips about 25% who say they are. There is some likelihood that they would act like that. And this is when you don't use such, it's not that kind of stranger rape. The 60% study looked at a whole lot of attitudes, or asking if they would be interested in doing a whole lot of acts, including forcing sex on a woman or forcing intercourse. Forced sex acts or forced it doesn't use the term rape. And then it goes up to 60%, even though, that is rape. So this shows that there is a widespread proclivity to rape. by male students who are hardly the most violent group in society. And 25 to 30% become sexually aroused by violent images of rape, even though, the picture that they're shown is of victims who are shown very distressed about it. The most popular kind of pornography, and that the highest number of males get turned on by, is if it shows the woman enjoying being raped, which is very common in pornography, that women get turned on. We've seen it in some mainstream movies as well. I would also say my own research has shown, very, very widespread amounts. The prevalence of rape of women is very widespread. And based on a probability sample in San Francisco, 44% of the women had been the victims of completed or attempted rape. This is in a random sample, like, the field polls do, the public opinion polls. And of that, 22% had been the victims of completed rape. So, it's just, that means, obviously, there are a lot of men who like to rape women. All right,